We grow up knowing that sharing, caring, and living ethically help build stronger character. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us not only to remain clear-headed but also to succeed in life under any circumstance. However, this approach does not endorse the idea of sacrificing ourselves selflessly and repeatedly to the point where we end up burning out like a candle, providing warmth for others while neglecting our own needs. Being always available, excessively helpful, and attentive might seem noble to those who receive such kindness, but what about our own value? How much are our lives impacted if there are no limits to our benevolence in a world where we are not always reciprocated, and we cannot rely on the notion that we will receive back everything, or at least half of what we give? Please help me by subscribing to my channel and giving this video a thumbs up if you are new here, so that I can continue creating more content in the future. Sometimes, we meet very generous people who give everything of themselves without keeping anything for themselves. Personally, adopting a Stoic mindset changed my life because it helped build emotional resilience during tough times. With this in mind, I would like to share not only philosophical reflections but also 7 examples resulting from excessive kindness and generosity. Additionally, I would like to explore how it is possible to set boundaries in life through the practical application of Stoic theory. Let's dive into the topic. The first lesson is, don't exhaust yourself to warm others. Living by reason and virtue is a fundamental ideal of the Stoics. These principles serve as determinants of actions and decisions in the pursuit of a moral and purposeful existence. Setting boundaries in our relationships remains an integral part of ensuring balance, safeguarding one's identity, and maintaining overall well-being. Being exploited or harmed due to excessive accommodation towards others often happens without us even realizing it. Sometimes, we unintentionally volunteer for suffering by offering to help or showing compassion for someone in need. I would like to share a story about an unlikely friendship between a horse and a donkey that flourished on a farm. One night, the horse confided in the donkey about his arduous daily routine. He had to plow the fields tirelessly from dawn until dusk, regardless of adverse weather conditions or the strain and pain from wearing a harness around his neck all day. On the other hand, the donkey spent most of his time resting and lazing around without any demanding tasks assigned to him. Being a good friend, the donkey genuinely sympathized with the horse's struggles. At his kind request, the horse responded, "Dear friend, I understand that it's difficult for you to carry out your heavy work, and I'd like to help. Here's how you can take a day off. This morning, when the farmer arrives, lie down and groan as loudly as possible so that he considers you sick and unable to work." The horse followed the donkey's advice, and the next day, the farmer reported to the owner that the horse had fallen ill and was unfit for work. Consequently, the farmer ordered the donkey to take on all the work for the day. In the morning, the horse left with a full stomach while the donkey was hungry and weak. At the end of the day, the horse returned to a comfortable stable with fresh hay, while the donkey struggled against cold rain without any shelter. "I want to thank you. You're a good friend. Thanks to your advice, I could rest all day," said the horse. The donkey replied sadly, "I, however, am like so many kind-hearted people who start by helping a friend but end up being taken advantage of." Have you ever felt like the donkey in your life? Share your experiences below. The significance of this cannot be underestimated. As illustrated in the story, we often want to help someone so much that we spare no effort. Stoicism advises us to practice self-reflection, which involves always questioning our immediate reactions and trying to live according to reason. This way, impulsive actions are eliminated from our choices, and we make decisions that resonate with our values. From his discourses, Epictetus says, "Before starting an activity, pause for a second and think about why you should do it. By performing the task, you will certainly feel more confident. Before starting it, you can set a goal. I want to complete this task and, by doing so, still uphold my moral purpose without violating the laws of nature." Stoicism can make you see this issue as a lesson. If you are going to help someone, do it, but your act should ensure that they do not unload their burden onto your shoulders. Therefore, Stoic teachings inspire us to build healthy relationships, balanced in the efforts of both sides, where no one is unduly sacrificed. The maxim, "Don't burn yourself to warm others," aligns with the Stoic concepts of rationality in life, balanced relationships, and excessive sacrifice, which can harm self-respect and well-being in all areas of life. The timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy provides us with valuable guidance on how to set appropriate boundaries in our relationships with others, especially when we are emotionally exhausted. By losing ourselves in an infinite ocean of generosity, we risk completely depleting our mental and physical resources. It will also be difficult for us to maintain balanced and healthy relationships with others. Now, let's consider an example from Marcus Aurelius. Being one of the prominent representatives of Stoicism, he supported the idea that each individual should live a life full of discipline and moderation at all levels, including relationships. In his well-known Meditations, he spoke about our actions and how they affect both ourselves and others. Being excessively kind to the point of having no limits can be seen as a disturbance of the emotional balance and self-control that the Stoics promote. Exaggerated benevolence, despite originating from noble intentions, can lead to situations where we are all emotionally drained, neglecting our own needs. According to Stoics like Epictetus, we should distinguish between what is within our capacity and what is beyond it. The discernment here lies in the idea that if we are too indiscriminate in our help, we may exhaust ourselves of what is necessary to face personal challenges. The classic case study of Hecuba, the Queen of Troy, illustrates the dangers of losing boundaries while loving others. Despite her kind acts toward her son, Polyxena, she ultimately lost herself within him and died tragically. Providing support is important, but it must be done within certain limits, as boundaryless approaches have proven quite devastating. Stoics compel us to adopt self-discipline, judgment, and temperance as we navigate each day of life. The implication here is that to truly value the importance of helping others, it is essential to recognize boundaries so that individuals can protect their identities and well-being. Additionally, even Seneca, who is also a prominent Stoic, spoke about the importance of not leaving oneself out when expressing generosity. He cited an example of how unlimited assistance can emotionally and physically drain us, making us less capable of offering support in a sustainable and truly meaningful way. Stoic examples and teachings help us maintain a delicate balance between being generous and respecting our own boundaries. They encourage us to consider how we can be supportive and helpful in a thoughtful way, understanding that creating these boundaries benefits us and also allows us to provide more sustainable support to others. The third lesson I learned from these readings is that reciprocity cannot last forever. This altruistic act is considered noble and true according to Stoic teachings. Often, we tend to think that if someone helped us or gave us something without expecting anything in return, the natural response is to do the same for that person. However, it is vital to understand that reciprocity has its limitations, and beyond our good deeds or favors towards someone, the sense of reciprocity may weaken over time. Despite deep gratitude at one moment or another, promises to return the kindness are often mere empty words because most people tend to forget supportive actions after a while. The generation of expectations regarding others' actions becomes commonplace, with everyone in the world thinking that others will act in a certain way or be available at any time. This kind of hope can also lead to a sense of recognition and appreciation. On the other hand, when such hopes are not met, internal conflicts and feelings of disappointment and betrayal often arise. Similarly, avoiding placing our happiness on the actions of others and giving without coveting excessive compensation saves us from sadness and teaches us how to develop emotional detachment, leading to a deeper level of emotional and mental stability. The Stoics suggest that the problem begins with our expectations that others will respond as we would. This is very dangerous. While the sense of reciprocity may seem natural, Stoicism teaches that we have no control over others' behavior but only over our own behavior and response. In his discourses, Epictetus insists on this. There are two rules that must always be observed: nothing is good or bad except what is essentially so, and we should not strive to lead events but rather yield to them. The quote emphasizes the importance of responding with acceptance rather than developing unrealistic expectations or trying to manipulate situations. Although it is important to note that what we consider good or bad is subjective and determined by our own rational judgments, being generous involves understanding that not everyone reciprocates equally. Creating expectations of reciprocity can lead to feelings of disappointment and frustration. Instead, we should focus on what is within our control, ensuring that our actions are constructive and productive without wasting energy on matters outside our sphere of influence. Stoicism reminds us that true wealth lies in our ability to give without expecting anything in return, to find joy in the simple act of giving without being influenced by others' attitudes towards us, and to maintain our peace regardless of their reactions. It would be better to start with something we can control, with what we can do for ourselves, with a generous detachment that would give us inner satisfaction even without expectations of recognition or repayment, as Epictetus teaches. Lesson 4. There is no limit to the requests people can make of us. Imagine, centuries ago, when some kings or queens were helped to dress, comb their hair, and perform basic personal hygiene activities. This unrestrained freedom and lack of sense may seem strange to us today, but how often do you hear someone asking you to do something they could have done themselves? People are inherently anxious for something from us. Stoicism allows us to set boundaries and gives us the tools through which we will implement these boundaries. Among the Stoic virtues, the habit of moderation acts as a compass in an ocean of numerous appeals, requests for help, and incessant demands. Instead of imitating those who are overly generous and thus have nothing left for themselves, Stoicism instructs us to find a middle ground, acting with modesty. By doing so, we exercise control over our actions and avoid tendencies that hinder emotional health. When we continually take on others' responsibilities, we not only exhaust ourselves but also prevent others from growing and facing their own challenges. This is clearly illustrated in a small town with the story of a mother and her adult daughter. Ironically, the mother continued to care for her sick daughter even as she grew up, preventing her from taking on her own responsibilities. The situation persisted for many years, with the mother doing everything for her daughter, to the point where the daughter did not dare to stand up unless it was an immediate necessity. The mother never wanted to leave her child alone, often postponing medical appointments. However, the situation changed one day when the mother abruptly fell ill and died. At that point, everyone was concerned about the daughter's well-being, as she had no one to take care of her since her mother was no longer there. Nevertheless, the daughter surprised everyone with her prompt return to normal life, revealing how excessive care, although well-intentioned and loving, can hinder personal development. This situation affects not only others but also ourselves. Being constantly burdened with others' responsibilities and always neglecting our own needs creates a system where we are trapped in an endless cycle of altruistic giving. In this situation, there is only one person who gives, and the other only receives. Falling into this pattern drains energy and directly impacts your emotional stability. On the other hand, practicing generosity with moderation means being able to balance our giving with what we can control in ourselves and avoid developing the habit of giving that can disturb our emotional stability. We might have the idea of always giving something to someone, but the minute we do, everyone receiving will think and want more. Therefore, it is essential to practice generosity but also crucial to establish clear boundaries and ensure we maintain balance while helping others, as this greatly contributes to ensuring our peace and well-being. The guidance we offer is that of independence and personal development. This echoes the philosophy expressed by Emperor Marcus Aurelius in his work, Meditations. A man's duty is to stand on his own feet and not lean on others. Genuine generosity, beneficial for all, reveals itself through such a delicate balance. Seneca, a renowned statesman and philosopher of the Stoic tradition, provided an important service by conveying his knowledge through letters, where he spoke about the nature of friendship and relationships based on trust. Here he says, "He who becomes your friend only because of some benefit will also cease to be your friend because of that benefit. A person who is attracted to another in search of a reward in return for friendship will also stop that attachment if they do not get something beyond the relationship itself." Recognizing that it is not good to develop false affinities based on external purposes, Seneca encourages us to develop true ones. Sometimes, being too generous can make people see in you only those connections motivated by specific interests such as money or anything else we can do or offer. Often, we base our value on what we can offer and not on who we really are, sometimes out of fear of judgment, to avoid displeasing someone, or even because deep down we feel unworthy. Excessive generosity is often a way this condition is articulated, and reciprocally, as compensation, it leads us to be excessively grateful and to dedicate ourselves excessively to others. Stoicism, as a way of life, actually highlights the significance of independence and internal mastery, through which one can be formed with a proper foundation of principles that should guide behavior. An intrinsic sense of worth and satisfaction are feelings we carry within us. Therefore, it is essential that we continuously cultivate self-confidence and a positive self-perception. This dynamism applies not only to friendship but also to the entire spectrum of our relationships, including professional, personal, and even social connections. Placing associations based on interests on a fragile platform would mean sealing their downfall concerning small changes or minor challenges. Epicurus says well that in prosperity it is very easy to find friends, in adversity, it is the most difficult. Accepting each other's flaws and virtues should be our main basis for developing and maintaining healthy relationships. This is how we establish relationships that not only allow us but, more importantly, recognize and value our true selves. The Stoic principles advocate a solid and genuine bond, where authentic connection arises from shared understanding and adherence to fundamental values. Your desires become less important when you follow the Stoic path of virtue, as this is the ultimate goal of Stoicism, leading to the perfection of life. To achieve this, it is imperative that we continuously improve our character and control our emotions, guiding us towards our own zenith. Contrary to this, in the case of taking on others' responsibilities, we move in the opposite direction. To maintain balance and ensure that our well-being is not negatively affected by others, it is essential to establish boundaries in our relationships and prioritize our duties. If you feel trapped because of someone else's priorities, you may actually be avoiding something within yourself that hurts or scares you. When we take responsibility for someone else's duties, we forget about our own needs. By starting to live their lives in some way, it becomes easier to avoid looking inside ourselves with our limits and fears and justify our sacrifice by helping others with what they consider urgent. But this comes at a cost. The price is that you begin to lose yourself in the process without even realizing that your own life is falling behind due to excessive concern with others' problems. The internal dialogue becomes monotonous. Then, inevitably, when you look inside yourself and face the serenity of your being, the pain and fear you avoided come back with full force. It is necessary to understand that recognizing our desires and priorities is not selfishness but rather a way of being true to ourselves and fighting for our well-being. According to the Stoics, setting boundaries and following virtues is not just self-love but also a path to a good life. One of the many Stoic philosophers who spoke on this subject is Cicero, who once said, "Few are the days of our lives in which we truly live." Therefore, stop always being available for everyone else. Learn to recognize and respect the uncomfortable feelings that arise when you are alone. These are valid human emotions. Recognize your true desires and needs. Healthy boundaries must be established, and say no if necessary. If you live according to your uniqueness, you will realize that, in addition to being happy inside, you are capable of treating others with genuine fairness and impartiality. Therefore, it is essential that you learn to manage your time well and know when it is essential to help yourself first before helping someone else. In this case, how assistance is provided becomes more important than the extent of your personal loss. Lesson number 5: Develop greater self-esteem. Stoic philosophy highlights the importance of maintaining a balance between being generous to others and taking care of your own self-esteem. Being kind and generous is truly a virtue, but this charity can exceed limits and neglect your own needs, which can be dangerous for your personal identity and emotional well-being. According to the Stoics, one must be able to pay close attention to oneself and maintain dignity because it is the foundation of a balanced and meaningful life. If we concern ourselves with others' demands without considering our own needs, we risk our individuality. This is how a person begins to lose their identity, struggling to find a balance between giving to others and valuing themselves in the process. One should also remember that being overly kind can create the illusion that a person's value is measured only by how they treat others. In this case, it will be easy to develop very low self-esteem, leading one to believe they are valued solely for their ability to serve others rather than being valued for who they are in terms of their character and personality. The Stoics tell us about the need to establish a genuine sense of self-respect that is inextricably linked to our physical and psychological well-being. Valuing ourselves does not mean becoming selfish or not offering help to others, but it is based on the understanding that our value as individuals does not depend entirely on meeting others' needs. It's about trying to find a balance between giving on one hand and maintaining what we possess as people on the other, to see to whom we can extend ourselves. In short, Stoic philosophy conveys the virtue of kindness and altruism but also warns against risking our sense of pride and self-esteem. A healthy balance involves lending a helping hand and showing compassion while also valuing our own identity and worth, recognizing that our value does not derive solely from what we do for others but from how we regard ourselves as sincere individuals. Lesson number 6: Be seen and treated as a resilient entity. The Stoic path demands that we cultivate inner strength and self-discipline. By doing so, we acquire stronger mental control through setting boundaries in our lives or practicing acts of self-control. Offering excessive help does not mean surrendering authority or cooperation but can create the opposite effect. In these circumstances, the absence of boundaries exposes our weaknesses. People perceive this vulnerability and, instead of sympathizing with it, may exploit it for their own benefit, manipulating in various ways. They learn to see us as someone who is always available, ready to assist without objections or reservations in any request that arises. Because of this, they use and abuse this attitude, leading us to exhaustion and despair in various situations. However, when we start to politely but firmly refuse, a surprising change occurs. People begin to see us in a new light. We are no longer individuals prepared to accept anything without question, but rather people who value our self-esteem enough to create boundaries that deserve respect and consideration. This paradigm shift is critical because with this change, we alter how others see us, transcend our mental limits, and evolve into resilient individuals capable of asserting ourselves, thereby gaining the respect we deserve. In the long run, respect does not depend solely on our behavior towards others but also on how we regard ourselves. This was understood by Cicero, a prominent writer and Stoic philosopher, when he said, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." We can draw a line between what is acceptable and what is not by developing a sense of self-control and limiting our freedom. To be precise, if we want people to treat us with dignity, then they should. Whenever you feel stuck in a situation that challenges your limits, remember the energy involved in that simple word. By saying no and refusing, you assert your own value and take a step towards maintaining self-respect. Regarding the implementation of these changes, there will be various obstacles along the way. The actions we take send messages to the world and to people around us. Naturally, if you always help people, everyone will start coming only when they need something. A challenging consequence could be the situation where your friends start to exclude you from events where you were once a welcomed member. They begin to use you only in cases that require help, always wanting something from you, while consideration seems to arise only in favorable times. However, let us not fall into disillusionment because this same process of behavioral evolution is quite natural and should be appreciated as a phenomenon of human nature. People are usually more likely to invite close friends, family members, or those with whom they have an authentic and balanced relationship rather than colleagues or collaborators to spend leisure time. This new development may be a surprise and seem unfair, but this is how human dynamics work. You offer assistance freely only to be ignored when you need support. Such prejudice creates painful emotions of discontent and betrayal. Nevertheless, From a Stoic perspective, this inequality reflects a perception test concerning who genuinely respects your companionship and recognition and who simply abuses your liberality. One of the important lessons in life is knowing who our true friends are. Success in life comes from a balance between helping others and ourselves. Sometimes, giving too much can leave us drained and used by people who do not appreciate our support. Stoicism provides useful strategies for dealing with these situations, helping us develop mental well-being and establish healthy boundaries to protect our emotional energy and physical resources. Please keep in mind that Stoicism does not mean cynicism or doubt, but it means having empathy from the depth of our hearts for humanity. In our choice of assistance with discernment, we can help those in need and accept with gratitude those who are our true support. With this selective approach, we can live with people who appreciate our true personality instead of focusing solely on what we have or bring to them. Establishing these boundaries is not difficult, but in the absence of practice, it may seem a bit complicated because we don't know where to start. Here are some ways to avoid being used by others and to get rid of the fear of saying no. It is necessary to know its origin. Mainly, this fear is instilled in us in childhood, about being kind so as not to be disliked. But if there is someone who has told you the truth in your face after you have grown up and reached adulthood, do not hesitate to refuse. As adults, we have the ability to question these beliefs and reformulate them. Learning about Stoicism equips us with tools to understand our emotions and manage our reactions in life circumstances. The practice of self-control involves saying no in overwhelming circumstances or when the request is unfair. Observe your emotions. The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us to consider our emotions and thoughts. Determine how you feel when it comes to helping others. If you feel drained, irritated, or used in some way, it is necessary to set your limits. Care more about yourself. It is crucial to have self-discipline and self-care as priorities. Ensure that you invest in your personal well-being, not just physically but also emotionally. Occasionally, we may be so concerned about others that we forget to take care of our own needs. Remember that you are also significant. By seeking to distance yourself from those who exploit, discover people who add value to your life. Finding those who bring more benefits to you is essential to escape those who always drain you. Are you giving yourself the love and attention you need? Look for people who always ask for more but never give anything back. To maintain stability between the takers and yourself, it is important to set boundaries. From Stoicism, we learn to live in balance, consume little, and reflect on what we do. It is truly invaluable. In the words of Seneca, be hidden like a precious treasure whose value should remain out of sight until necessity reveals it. It is as simple as clicking the like button and subscribing if you haven't already. Additionally, leave us a comment below with your opinion so that YouTube receives the message that our videos are really helping people like you. After all, our goal here on this channel is you. For us, you are important, and we want to help you. When you leave a comment, it motivates us to make more and more videos, and we can continue bringing more content like this to everyone who needs it.